Hey guys, it's Kate and hope you're having a fabulous day. I'm here with my art journal, a palette, and just a few random colors I kind of grabbed from my paint collection. I've got lemon yellow, purple lake, titanium white, scarlet lake, and ultramarine. And it's kind of a weird hodgepodge of colors, but I've got some primaries, a white, and I just kind of grabbed this purple just to kind of play around with. I'm not sure if I'll use all of them. I don't even know really what I am going to be doing on this page. I just really wanted to relax and play with some paint today. So I'm going to put some white onto my palette because I will definitely use that. And I'm going to start, I think, with maybe some of this lemon yellow. And I'm just going to put a little bit on because I'm not exactly sure what I am exactly going to do yet. But I think I want to do a soft background. So I'm just going to put a little bit of color on my paper there. And I'm working in my mixed media pad. And I'm going to start off with a nice bright white with this lemon yellow. And I'm just going to mix it right here on my palette and start adding it to my page. And I'm going to be kind of thick with the paint. I'm not really adding any water to it. I'm just going to mix a little bit up as I go. This is going to be a very light colored sunny yellow. And I'm not worried about brush strokes or anything like that. I'm just getting some paint down on my paper. And then I might add some blue and bring out some green tones in this. So I'm just going around with my brush, slowly mixing as I go, and just kind of taking it easy. Sometimes when you're not feeling very creative or you have just a blank page, it doesn't even matter what you make. It just matters to get that muscle moving and to get some color down. And I don't even know how much of this you can really see on camera, but it's just some very light color. And I think I'm going to go ahead and cover this whole page. And I've got my small but favorite filbert brush. I've had this thing for years and I just always seem to grab it. It's not very expensive. I think it's a Royal and Langnickel, and I don't even remember where I got it. And it's kind of worn down now from so much use. I've got missing bristles and everything, but I just can't seem to let it go. It's been beat up pretty good. But that's good in a way because it's good to use your art supplies. It doesn't really do any good if they're just kind of sitting around and collecting dust or put in a drawer or in the closet. So it's good to have your favorites that you use and then they can be used up. All right, I've got my paper covered. I'm going to add just a touch of this blue. And blue is pretty strong, so I'm just going to add a little bit at a time until I get a color that I like. And it almost kind of looks like a violet when it's this light. I'm going to add a little bit of this lemon yellow to it and start bringing out a bit of a green. And I'm just kind of mixing it slowly and seeing what I like. We kind of have like a gray-green going on. And it's really nice, actually. It's sort of a muted shade. Let's see about adding a little bit more blue. Oh, I added a lot that time. Maybe a little more yellow. There we go. I kind of like that color. It's like a gray-green, and it's really subdued. Now, if I had like a phthalo blue, it would be a lot brighter of a green. I'm just going to kind of mix this in with my yellow. And maybe I do just kind of a foreground. And I'm just going to blend this in really loosely. Make sure to get that paint off my brush and just go for it. And just have fun spreading some color out. And you can see that yellow coming through the background. And it's funny because as light as it looks over here on the palette, when you have it over here next to the yellow, it's a lot different and it looks much darker. It's funny when you're adding color just next to each other how it changes the look of it. And a lot of times, like when you're painting and if you're working on a toned paper like this, it could be, you know, just a light color, kind of like an underpainting or a mid-tone, and you can kind of see it shining through, but it changes the look of your color and you can really kind of get a good sense of your values that way. It looks one way over here and a different way over here. All right, I'm going to rinse my brush. And I kind of have this weird sort of blendy background now, and I'm kind of debating whether I want to add another sort of area coming up there. Right now, I have a damp brush. I think I want to experiment with softening this edge. And I think I like how that looks, so I'm going to keep going. So I'm going to just rinse my brush a little bit, blot it slightly so it's not soaking wet. And I'm just going to soften this edge so it has a nicer blend and a bit more of a gradient. I'm not going to be, you know, scientific about it, but just soften it a bit so that it doesn't have that hard line. And it's just about where I want it. I'm just going to kind of stroke down from the yellow and get rid of any of the harsh lines. And maybe add just a little bit of white. And I'm almost dry brushing it. Just like that. I think that looks pretty good. All right, I'm going to take some more white. I think I really like how that looks, and I want to go back to this yellow blend. And I'm going to add another layer down here at the bottom. Kind of similar to up top. So now we have kind of a gradient with that green and yellow. And I'm just going to make this kind of a soft blend also. It's not going to be a perfect gradient, but it's not going to be just a harsh line. But you just get some nice interest going on here. All right, I'm going to give this just a minute to dry. All right, we are all dry, and I know you're going to be extremely shocked if you're a regular viewer, but I think I want to do some leaves. What the heck? So I'm going to start light, and I'm going to get darker as I come to the front. So I'm going to grab a little bit of blue, a little bit of yellow, and a little bit of white. And I'm going to grab a decent amount of yellow here so we can get kind of a nice green, but still light. You get just a little more blue. And so it'll be a little bit brighter, but I think a really nice color. So I'm going to kind of go from the side with my brush. Filbert brush sometimes isn't the best to use to get a nice strong point, but it can be done. And I just kind of go from the side, make sure I've got a good load. Now I know I'm kind of going pretty thick here with the paint, and this is kind of a really thick blade of grass, but I'm going to be putting some more layers over it that I want to blend in. So I'm okay with that. I'm even going to let it kind of meet up here at the bottom. Maybe have another one that's coming up higher. I want to definitely look at the different heights. So I want to have them kind of staggered so I don't just have like a line of grass that goes across the page. And I think this is kind of good. It's a nice variety of shapes and sizes and lengths. And so here is a good start. So I'm going to grab some more white, yellow, and blue and just mix up a bit of a different color. And I'm not going to rinse my brush or mix in a different pile. Just going to keep going. This one just happens to be a little bit more of a muted shade. Totally fine with that. And I'm going to just come on down. Just like this. You might hear Scampy in the background. She's just sort of doing her thing. She likes to cry when it's about cuddle time. All right, I've got some color left on my brush. I'm going to grab some more white. Maybe I'll just add a little bit of yellow to this and brighten it up just a tiny bit. And add another layer here. And now I'm going to just be a little bit more strategic with my lines because I want to have some different marks here. She says hello to everybody. And now's where we're going to see more of our shapes kind of coming together. Yes, girl, you're very nice. She gets jealous when she doesn't have all the attention. So now I'm not really going to focus on coming all the way down. And I'm going to go ahead and overlap in some spots. That's totally fine. And we're just going to keep adding these layers. And it's just sort of playtime. I'm going to make this one come up a little higher. All right, let's add some blue, some more yellow, just a little bit less white. I'm going to, hey, get out of there. She's the jelly girl. All right. I'm going to darken this a bit more. And I'm going to add just a little bit of water to thin it out so it spreads a little bit smoother. And keep going. You can see I'm just doing some simple variations in color, but it leaves a lot of blendy spots on my page, a lot of different shapes, and it all starts to kind of blend together. I'm going to add the rest of that yellow there. And we can have some darker colors coming up. And we can even get shorter with our stems or blades of grass. I'm just going to keep on going. And they don't have to end in the same spot or even really begin in the same spot. really like this look we've got going on here. Just a lot of interest and a lot of variation in value and height, and you have that sort of nice sunny yellow at the top. All right, I'm going to get a little bit darker here. And now we've got kind of a deep blue-gray. And it's even darker than what we've got on the page already. I'm going to add just a little bit more water to this again, and it's just going to make it a little bit more buttery smooth. You could even add some acrylic medium or anything just to sort of increase the flow. And I'm just sort of going around making sure that I've got some nice variety where I don't have big blocks of a certain color or stroke style. And it just looks like it belongs together. Add a little bit more blue here, and we'll just kind of keep going darker. And don't forget to have maybe some coming out the side of your page. I'm gonna make this more of a point. Maybe even have it cross over a little bit more. And I really like that. So I'm going to clean my brush a little bit and give it a good rinse. Okay. Now I'm going to grab my round brush and go straight into this ultramarine. And I'm adding a little bit of water just to make it easier to spread. And we're going to have some blue flower stems here, nice and dark. And I'm going to kind of hide it within the grasses a little bit. Maybe it's kind of poking behind something. And I want these to end at different points also. I'm going to have my flower heads mostly coming up from the top, maybe 3 up there, and maybe a few that are in the grasses. And maybe that flower stem will come all the way down. And maybe we have one come all the way down there. And then maybe we have one just kind of peeking out right there. Scampy's investigating again. She's right here in front of me. All right, come on, it's time to get down. Okay, now let's try out this Scarlet Lake. This is a very bright red, and I think that might be just what we need here. So I am going to mix a little bit of white with this and get kind of a pretty pink color, which I really like. And I might actually add just a tiny bit of yellow to it too. I'm not going to squirt too much out on my palette because I don't really need very much, but I'm going to make this kind of like a pinky peachy orange color. and maybe add just a hint of that ultramarine. And that tones it down just a little bit, makes it a little bit more earthy, but still a really nice peach color. All right. Now let's see, how about we make a few little blobs. And maybe one there. And we've got maybe a bud here. A couple of buds here. And another full-size flower here. I'm just kind of mashing my brush down. Okay, and then we've got another right here. Yeah, I kind of like how that looks. You know what, I might make that have one more leaf. And maybe this one can be a full, well, I don't know. How about we make this one a full-size flower as well, right there. And then this can be a side-facing flower. And I think that looks pretty good. All right. So I'm going to dip back in to my red. I'm going to rinse my brush pretty well. And I want to do a bit of a dry brush just to add a little bit of extra color. So I'm going to go into this red again just with the tip of my brush, and I'm just going to kind of brush it along my palette right here just to get it sort of not excessive on my brush. And I might need to wait just a little bit, maybe a little bit more paint. So I just want to add some deepness to the flower from the inside, but not too bright all over. So I'm just kind of going over with my brush again, following along some of those brush strokes and just letting it sort of blend out a bit. I'm just kind of having fun. This is a really great little exercise if you're just not really feeling all that creative. Sometimes it's hard to get into something. So this is just some nice playtime here. It's kind of hard to do this with a filbert. So I'm going to get in here with my round brush. And that might be a little bit better. And then I can kind of add some texture to these petals a bit and just kind of have fun with that red. And I'm just kind of going around with the color that's already on there and sort of following these imaginary curves that would be in the petals. And stroking toward the outside. Then I'm going to go right into this white And maybe mix it with just a little bit of this peach color here so it's not like a bright white. Brighten it up a little bit though. All right. I don't really like that very much, so I am going to kind of take that away and cover it up a bit again with that peach. There. Like it never happened. All right. What I do want to do is add some dark centers. My ultramarine is pretty much gone from the palette, so I'm just going to dip straight into my tube and dot some in a few of the areas where I have centers. And that really helps with just sort of turning them into actual flowers and not just blobs on the paper. And that one can be sort of facing away from us. And I like that. I'm going to bring this one all the way down too. Why not? Yeah. And then right here, just kind of fix up that little mark where it joins. And this is a fun little page. Just simple, nothing too major, but a really good exercise if you just want to loosen up and put some paint down on a page. That is really what I focus a lot on my channel, is really art for the relaxation and just the joy of it. It doesn't need to be fancy. It doesn't need to be perfect. It is perfectly imperfect. And that's my favorite kind, where it's therapeutic and just makes you happy to do. And you don't really have to worry about anything else. So I really hope that you try this if you're just looking for something as an activity, something to loosen up or warm up, especially if you're working on another piece of artwork or another painting, or just learning how to use your brush. Just practice. And you know, I used a filbert brush for this, and even though it's not really the best brush to use for thin lines, especially as beat up as mine is, it still can make a fun little art journal page. So I really hope you enjoyed this video today. Please give it a try with whatever supplies you have on hand, and I will give you a quick close-up of our finished painting. So if you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to subscribe, make sure to hit that subscribe button to see more videos like this. Thank you again for watching, and until next time, keep creating. Bye.